So we are now back online with Wait One Legal Minute. I thank y'all who have been so patient with me going from my desktop to my laptop, from my personal to my Wait One Legal Minute page. So this has just been a technically challenging morning. I was trying to use a new software and it didn't quite pan out for me. I thought it would be easier, and perhaps I'm not as experienced in it so far that I need to be. So, anyways, thank you for joining. Let me know if you have any legal questions. I want to respond to them. I had a few follow up comments and information about the topics that we discussed on Tuesday. On Tuesday, we had so many questions from callers about visitation during the during the shutdowns, the state, local shutdown. So many custodial parents or non-custodial parents are calling attorneys and asking if they still have to honor the visitation schedule set forth in either their final decree or their court order. My response to them was, one, of course, just always contact the attorney who represented you to get guidance. But I like for my clients to be reasonable in how they are facilitating visitation with the non-custodial parent. And I also want the non-custodial parent to be reasonable in what their requests are within the court order and whatever circumstances are occurring, and in trying to reason with the custodial parent. So it works both ways. But at any rate, if your state or if the courts in your county have not put out or entered or made a ruling when this first happened, which many counties in Georgia did, the orders spoke to allowing visitation and following visitation per the published school calendar. Okay, so essentially saying that the visitation was still enforceable and that you follow the schedule from the published school calendars. Now, these orders were entered before the most recent order that was entered by our governor on yesterday, which I think will be pushed out today. So Fulton, Cobb County are two counties that, and then my phone's want to ring as well, but are two counties that entered orders prior to this becoming an issue, and giving attorneys and litigants some guidance on how to facilitate visitation during the shutdown before it became an issue. I had an experience, and I just had another attorney text me that she had a similar experience where the judge actually in this particular county denied a request by the attorney to order to hold the other person in contempt for withholding visitation. And the judge essentially said, hey, it's a pandemic. The parent can make up visitation after the pandemic, but there's no contempt. I take issue with that because I'm not in the medical profession, but based on what the governor's order is, based on what several other counties are ordering, that is not consistent with the trend of the states, okay? And it's also not facilitating the parent-child relationship because we don't know how long this pandemic will last. And if there's very minimal, if no risk in the exchange, essentially what I was saying to the other attorney is, in trying to reach a settlement, is, hey, your person will go from the child will go from your client's house to her car, to my client's car, to his house. There is minimal risk, if any, and we should still be encouraging the parties to facilitate the visitation. So you don't always get the obviously the court was not in agreement with me and another attorney. I think there were a few other attorneys that had some issue with this, and they were denied their request. So attorneys, judges, whoever's watching, if you have any feedback on that, I think that is certainly an interesting topic. So we also talked about during this time, if there's a supervised visitation requirement in your court order, are the visitation centers open for public? So I thought that was a great question. I had not looked into that prior to the airing. What I've done is a bit of research, contacted a few supervised visitation centers in the state of Georgia. And one that I commonly use, and I know that's located in Decatur, Nia's Place. I did confirm that Nia's Place is closed, but there is another visitation center that is open. And my comment on Tuesday was, or my response to the question is, contact the visitation center that your court ordered to exchange visitation, or that you and the other person have agreed to use. Contact them and find out if they're open and if they're facilitating any visitation, even if it's just for the exchange or it's for the sit down visitation, and then make a decision from there. Because it appears that each visitation center is still making each one is making their own decision. Some are deciding to discontinue their services, and some are moving forward. Another point on the visitation and the visitation centers: if you believe that the other person is at risk, then obviously at the end of the day, you're going to have to make a parental decision, and you're going to have to be ready to for any consequences after the pandemic if that person files a contempt. So you will have to make a decision. We all do during this time as to how to proceed. But I do encourage you not to use the pandemic as a means of withholding visitation. Just be reasonable. I see that Stephanie Dixon, who is a licensed mediator, that was another topic that we discussed, is during this time, during the pandemic, law firms are still working, attorneys are still working, people still have legal issues. One great way to resolve some of the legal issues is to use the mediation process or the arbitration process. And I think that these resources should be exhausted anyways, even when the courts are not closed, because it is best for you and your and the other parent or the other litigant to try to reach a resolution before just going and filing something with the court, or throughout the process while the matter is pending. But have Stephanie Dixon. She has joined. And Stephanie, I don't know if I can ask you to join. But what are your thoughts? Have you conducted any virtual mediations since the pandemic started? And I don't know if there's any lag time. I asked in one of my cases to conduct a virtual mediation, and the other attorney didn't have the resources, did not have the technology to conduct the mediation. So we just end up sitting, the case is sitting, it's not moving, and that it can be frustrating. I would encourage people to get your technology up to speed, because we don't know how long we are going to be in this pandemic. So if you don't have the technology to Zoom, if you don't have the technology to have any kind of video means of communication, I would encourage you, lawyers, to upgrade, because we may be in this position for a while, and you don't want to stall your cases while we're in a pandemic. If you have any legal questions, please feel free to ask. This is the third episode now that we have. I'm trying to do 30-minute segments. Again, I'm just sharing legal information, commenting on my experiences, other people's experiences, and providing a platform for people to get information. I'm really excited about this platform. Oh, we have another licensed mediator, Jabrina Johnson, who actually joined me in the first live episode of Wait One Legal Minute. Hello, Jabrina. She is also a GAL. I discussed GALs on Tuesday, and that's a license. I'm sorry, that is a guardian ad litem, a court-appointed guardian ad litem here in Georgia. If there is a custody dispute and the court desires to appoint or the parties request a guardian ad litem, then there are licensed attorneys who have been trained to go out to conduct investigations and to make a recommendation to the court that the court will take into consideration, and most cases will follow unless you can show reasons why the recommendation shouldn't be followed. At any rate, we have Jabrina. She's also joined. She has not done any mediations so far, and she is actually conducting guardian ad litem visits virtually. So that's interesting. So again, earlier I talked about how attorneys need to make sure that they have their technology up to speed. So Jabrina, it looks like not only is that a call of action to litigants, but that's also to parties. We cannot move your cases if you don't have the means to participate in the litigation virtually. That's the bottom line. So I would encourage folks to get means of video, virtual telecommuting, because it is just a necessity under these circumstances. I did not scroll down earlier, so I was missing some questions. And again, I apologize. I tried to use a new software. That was an epic fail. But I am back on, let's see, let me scroll down. I have another question. Thank you for joining, Isha Davis. I will say your name if you post on this public post, okay? If you want me to keep your question private, just send an inbox message to Wait One Legal Minute, and I will check that message. If I don't get to it this show, I will be sure to address it in the next show. I just want to make sure that everyone's information is private if that's what they want, but answer it publicly if you're putting it on a public forum. Also, one other thing, I am not licensed in any other state but Georgia. I will give you resources or make referrals or tell you what we do in Georgia. Just because we do it here in Georgia does not mean that you do it in your state. So thank you for joining Wait One Legal Minute. And we're going to be live again on next Tuesday at 11 o'clock. So I want to see all these great questions again. But the next question is from Isha Davis. My son is in foster care and I don't have $350 to pay. I just really need some advice. Okay, so Isha Davis, this is another reason why I started this forum. I have people that call my office. I have a consultation fee. Many family lawyers do. The reason why we do that is because when we sit down and have consultations, we are sharing what's in here with you. That's what we went to school for. That's what our practice areas, our experience has allowed for us to have this information, and this is how we pay our mortgage. And so when we spend any time to give legal advice, like anyone does when they go to work, we have to get paid for that. So I'm sorry that you don't have the consultation fee, but this is another reason why I started this legal forum, to kind of just at least guide people in the right way if I can help, or give you legal information to help you in your case. Now, my first question to you before I respond to that, Isha Davis, is there are many pro bono services in the state of Georgia. There are many law firms that also offer pro bono services. And pro bono services means essentially that we will work your case or represent you without a fee. So what I would first do is contact Georgia Legal Aid or other Atlanta volunteer lawyers. There are services and organizations that assist people who cannot otherwise afford an attorney or attorney's fees. But you are correct in that most attorneys, family law attorneys, will charge consultations, but there are many firms that offer pro bono services and many organizations that can appoint you a lawyer or connect you with a lawyer who will represent you. But if you can tell me what state you're in and what your more specific question is, I can try to address that later on. Stephanie Dixon, the licensed mediator, she's here in Georgia. She has said that she's using Zoom for her mediation. Again, that is a technology that many people are using now. It's becoming more and more popular during the pandemic. It is an excellent way to conduct business face to face and real time. So she is using Zoom and she's sending out instructions prior to mediation. And I'm guessing by instructions, I think she might be referring to the mediation guidelines, because with mediation, there are certain rules and guidelines that the mediator, the attorneys, and the parties have to follow and understand. One example is a mediator can't be subpoenaed. You can't have all this conversation, try to reach a settlement, and then later try to subpoena the mediator. So there are guidelines and they set forth what the limitations are in the mediation and how the mediations will be facilitated. So Isha, you followed up with a question. Thank you so much. So Isha her follow-up question is, please, can I ask you a question or hear my number she provided? Okay, so what I would not do on the forum, I thank you, Isha, thank you for your comments, but I do have, you can send private messages to my Wait One Legal Minute inbox so that your private information is not on this public forum. I do believe, or not I believe, any comment that you put on this thread of comments can be seen by the public. So I want to be very careful about the information that you're exchanging on here, because you've put your number. So you may want to delete that comment, Isha, so that people don't have your phone number, and send me an inbox message in Wait One Legal Minute Facebook message, and I will respond to you. Regina, thank you for joining. So it is now 11:30. I'm trying to be disciplined in the time frame, even though we had some lag time. We're going to go from 11 to 11:30. Our next live will be on Tuesday at 11 o'clock, and we will try to go until 11:30. If you can send me your questions or your comments prior to the show, I can make sure that they are properly addressed, or I'll have an attorney that can address your question. But again, thank you so much for joining. I'm going to go back to the comment that I had after the show on Tuesday from an individual who said that the show was a means to make money. I don't make money here. I'm just sharing my legal experience, my information, or my opinions about legal matters. So just wait one legal minute, sir. I am not making any money off this show. This is a platform, a resource, a means of sharing information with individuals, with attorneys, colleagues, peers. So I appreciate your comment, but and I hope you joined today, because my response to you was, hey, why don't you join and why don't you listen to a show so that you can understand what the purpose of the show is. And there's no business to transact here. I am simply just providing a forum for people to exchange information. And then we had another comment from Michael Green. And just to reiterate what I shared with Michael Green, his question was, and I'm summarizing, why are attorneys cowards when it comes to fathers' rights in child support cases? I beg to differ. The colleagues that I know, many of them only represent male clients. I do not only represent male clients, but I represent each client zealously. And so to make a blanket statement like that, I hate that that may have been your experience. I don't know what state you're in. I don't know your special circumstances. Every case should be addressed on a case-by-case basis. Your special circumstances are considered when a ruling is made. But I would always recommend finding an attorney who has the legal expertise in your particular area, and has the experience. Also get recommendations. Look for someone or hire someone who is personally recommended. Recommendations are the best way for you to make a good decision. But I also say that every situation is different. So even though you had a bad experience, mainly of my clients are males. So I would just say wait one legal minute. That's not the case in all child support matters. We work hard. Many attorneys fight hard to make sure that child support cases are fair, that all expenses are taken into consideration, that both income is taken into consideration. So we follow the child support worksheet, and I don't know what state you're in, Mr. Green, so I don't know the laws in your state, but here in Georgia, we have a worksheet. It's very straightforward. All that information is taken into consideration. But if you would like to inbox me the particulars in your case or the issues that you had, I can address your question more specifically. So send your messages to Wait One Legal Minute, Facebook inbox, and I will address your questions, your concerns, your legal opinions, because this is just a platform to share information. Thank you all so much for joining. I hope we can go forward on Tuesday without any glitches. I'll practice a few times this weekend. But as usual, I appreciate you. You can see IG. We have an IG page on hashtag Wait One Legal Minute. And we look forward to seeing you on Tuesday at 11 o'clock. Oh, Deshaun just joined. Hey, Soros. Thank you all. Have a good one. Thank you.